Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi. Welcome to the Fiscal Forum. I'm Will Padilla. I'm the Chief of Fiscal's Change Management Office. I'm very happy to see everyone here today, and welcome to all of our folks that we have on the line. We are rebooting our Fiscal Forum. You might remember that we did these on a fairly regular basis leading up to the big 2018 Go Live. Following our recent Imagine Fiscal event, we heard a lot of feedback from you all and from your representatives about the need for more, better, different communication. So we've restructured the forum a little bit and brought it back. We'll be doing it quarterly from here on in. Just want to quickly go over the agenda for today. We've got several topics to cover. We'll have a project update and then several demonstrations of our MECIAC automation tool, Ports to Go. And these are some of the new, tools that came out of the Imagine Fiscal. Also the 360 dashboard and FizzBot, as well as a question and answer panel with our partner business executives. If you have questions throughout any of the presentations, I'll ask you to please hold them to the end of each segment and to come up to the podium and speak into the microphone. That way our folks who are online will be able to hear your questions as well. So thanks again for coming, and without further ado, I want to turn it over to Neeraj Chauhan, our Chief Deputy Director, to give a project update. Thank you, Neeraj.
Good afternoon. My name is Neeraj Chauhan. I'm the Chief Deputy Director for Department of Fiscal, and I'm also the Project Director for the Project of Fiscal. Like Will said, we put a pause on the Fiscal Forum, so we relaunched the Fiscal Forum, so you'll see us more often now. And there's quite a few items today on the agenda, so I want to do a quick update on where we are on the project. If you have not been tracking us, we extended the project deadline by a year. And two primary reasons. One was we needed more time to test the remaining SEO functionality. So that gave us another year to do that. And we also found a lot more scope with some of the SEO financial reporting items. So that gave us more time to build and test that. On the project side, I feel like over the last year, we did a little bit of pivot. So you should have seen a lot more engagement from the project, inviting you to come to us at labs and giving us feedback on as we build things before we launch the things into production. We're doing a more concerted effort to get your feedback. For example, we went live with Payroll AR, with Federal Trust Fund. We went live last month with, remind me somebody, FTF, Federal Trust Fund. All right, we don't have any SC people in the room. But our goal is not to go to a monthly release, so you are getting the SEO changes in bite-sized form. So that was the one big feedback we heard from you, was these big releases, if there were issues with it, it was causing a deep impact for your department. So that's our effort, is shrink the go lives to smaller bite-sized chunks so you can better digest it. Right now we are doing PFA work as part of SEO release. So we have all the departments batched out in 4 or 5 batches. We're working with the first batch. So if you are in the accounting shop working with allocations and PFAs, you are probably engaged. You will be coming into the building, getting through the task and working with my team to get your allocations and PFA updated. Our big go live is in July of 2020. So that's when the cash book of ledger from the controller's legacy system moves to Fiscal. That's a big milestone for us. And with that, a lot of the functionality which is today in the legacy side of SEO moves to Fiscal. There's a lot of benefits associated with it, because today there's a lot of delays between Fiscal and legacy, depending on which part of accounting you work in. Because today those pieces are not in Fiscal, so in some cases it's paper going over to SEO, or it's electronic communication and other methods. This way everything would be in one system, and the controller would be working out of the system, so things like cache functions would happen live in the system. So that's our big release. You will be seeing more communications go out, in whether in our new monthly newsletter, and I know there's a lot of comms which go out as part of the project communication. So these are emails which go out to your department liaison, and some key stakeholders in your department. Any questions on the project? Okay, good. I also wanted to share with you, so over the last more than about 2 years, we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what functions, which we can automate and give it back to you. So these are some of them. Password reset. So we still get a lot of password reset requests in our service center, and you can do your password resets online. There are security questions which you have to set up, and if you have that set up, you don't have to ever call the service center to get your password reset. We have also developed several dashboards. So, and I know on the agenda today you will see demos of quite a few of them. The Department 360, that's a fantastic dashboard that gives you a snapshot of all the different pieces of accounting. It will also give you, which areas you should focus on, and it gives you one central place to look at all your accounting, all the moving parts in accounting. Today, I know we are doing a demo of the MEC automation tool. So MEC has been a huge lift for us. With our last batch of departments coming into the system, we spend a lot of time not only just providing you guys support at the department, so we set up support teams to go out and help you through month and year-end close, but we also build a MEC automation tool, so which is supposed to help you fast track closing a month. So I know the staff will do a demo on that a little later. This fiscal year, like Will mentioned, we did a Imagine Fiscal workshop where we invited individuals from the departments to come to a session here. It was over 2 days. We did 3 sessions, one on customer service, one on system, one on communication. We got a lot of good feedback from you. So we are heavily focused on implementing what we can from that list. So there's going to be big focus this fiscal year on training and providing you as many avenues as possible to ask us questions and satisfying your training needs. We launched our chatbot earlier this year, and we did a second launch of the chatbot about a month ago where it got more smarter in terms of answering your questions. So I know there's a demo on the chatbot today, so we'll go over that. I think there's an opportunity. We're trying to set up some laptops in the back. So if you're in the room, you can actually interact with the chatbot live if you wanted to. So there's staff in the back. Fiscal TV is another idea which came from you, where it is our YouTube channel. We're picking a hot topic and then having a subject matter expert talk about the hot topic and give you an opportunity to ask questions. We are also revamping our online materials for training. So, trying to make them more user-friendly, making it more, providing more context to the training. So we got a lot of feedback on our online training, University of Fiscal, so we slowly will be rolling out changes to our University of Fiscal, providing a lot more videos for you to consume. And also, we are relaunching a lot of the in-classroom training. So about a couple of months ago, we sent out a request for our Rec to Check training, and within a couple of days, it was full. So I know there's a huge need and demand for you guys to come into the building and get the training from us. So we are hearing that, and we'll be adding more and more modules to provide online training. Okay, so before we go do any demos, any other questions? I know it's kind of intimidating having a mic right in the center of the room, but I know folks are online too. But feel free to ask the questions. Save all your hard questions for the end. I have all the partners from the Controller's Office, Finance, Treasurer's Office, and Department of General Services here. They'll be up here. You can ask away. I know I've been chatting with a couple of you. Feel free to ask the question. I have all the staff here. With that, I'm going to turn this over to the MEC automation tool demo.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ram Gadam. I'm manager at Fiscal Service Center. I'm really excited to be here today to present the self-service MEC functionality, which we rolled out to all the departments in July of this year. As part of it, we have introduced a new role for departments to access this functionality. So in the past, when departments are ready to close the period, they used to send a request to the FSC, and FSC had to run some queries, check if the department is ready and there are no pending transactions impacting the close for that given period. And then they had to interact with SEO teams to close the period. In case if they find any pending transactions which are stuck, they have to work with the NECAC administrative team, which is internal to fiscal. And there's so multiple layers and multiple handoffs and emails and everything was going in different systems and a lot of handoffs. With this new self-service functionality, we can do everything in fiscal application itself. There's no need to do a lot of handoffs and everything as such. So this particular role, whichever is given to the users, they can get access from the ISS portal. If the NECAC administrator team of the given department have to request this functionality access by going to ISS portal. There's a new role called NECAC admin role, which once you get the access, then you can go to this page. So this is the kind of a view of the page. So it lists all the subledgers, and also there's a tab which shows the AM and GL general ledger as well. So when the department is ready to close with this new process, the NECAC administrator will log into this particular page, which will display the latest open period. So we have built into the functionality in such a way that if the department hasn't closed last three-month periods, let's say example, August, September, and October. So the system will not allow you to raise a request for October because your August is still not yet closed. So the system will ensure that you raise a request for August before you raise a request for September or October. And then they can submit the request here all at one time for all the modules if they are ready to close for all the modules, all the subledgers, or if the department is ready to close the AP period, but the AR team is still working on doing their closure process. So the NECAC administrator can initiate the request just for the AP subledger. So once that the request is submitted, the system will check if there are any pending transactions, any pending vouchers or pending payments which are impacting the close. If none are found, an email is sent to automatically SEO, initiating them to close the period. SEO will have 4-hour SLA to close the period. Once the SEO closes it, they will send an email back to department saying that, hey, your period has been closed. Even if they don't send the email, once they close the period, the system is intelligent enough to put the next period when you go back and log into the page. But let's say if you found transactions which are impacting the close, any payments which are stuck, or any vouchers which are stuck, now the NECAC administrator can work with the corresponding subledger, which is AP in this case, work with the team and ensure that those pending transactions are cleared, and then they can rerun this process again. So the way the tool is built right now is, in the past, we used to get all the transactions which are impacting the close, regardless of the business area, regardless of subledger module. Now we have fine-tuned it in such a way that the AP module will only see the transactions which are impacting AP. They don't need to see what is AR, what is in AM, what is in GL happening out there. So that way there is a much more alignment with the function, business area function. So the benefits of this particular tool is we are empowering the departments to do self-service on their own. They don't need to depend on FSC. And then the workflow notifications are being built, generated from the tool. There are no more emails. Everything is to the system. And then there are more module interdependencies. For example, like we just talked about, AP can go ahead and close the period, regardless of AR is still working on the close process. And then whoever initiated the request and whoever closed this request, all this information is being tracked in the system so that in the future, for audit purposes or anything, we can still go back into the records and see what happened in the system. And then the pending transactions will be identified by subledger and will be published to the user as a report. So with that, I would like to introduce my team member, Ajita Nimka. She has been the functional lead for this particular program, and she'll be doing a live demo in the non-production environment. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ajita, and I'm demoing it. I have a testing environment, and I'm going to go ahead and log in PeopleSoft. And this is my testing environment ID. Okay, let's go ahead and click on Classic Home. And the role is MSc Admin role. I'm going to go ahead to Fiscal Processes, Fiscal Extension, GL, Month and Close, and MEC Automation Process. I'm going to go ahead and run for Department of Fiscal. Our business unit is 8880. Let's go ahead and click on Search. As you can see, all the submodules are displayed. As Ram spoke earlier, you can run single module at a time, or you can also run submodules at a time. Let's go to AM and GL tab. Now, since AM and GL are not completed here, submodules are not closed, so you will not be able to close AM and GL. Let's go ahead and click on the process for all submodules and click on Run.
So while it is running, I just want to talk about what's happening behind the scenes. Is it right? So it is right now checking for any pending transactions for each module, for AP, AR, BI, labor distribution, all of them, which are checked in there. So for AR, it's checking for any pending items which are stuck because of combo rules, budget errors, items which have not been sent to GL, and also any worksheets which have been stuck in the middle and not partially complete and which have not been sent to GL for that given period. All the stuff is being checked out, and any outstanding bills, deposits, pending items which are incomplete in status, these are all being checked out to identify if they are there, they will be flagged as part of the report. Is that right? For in the BI, it's the same thing. In billing module, it's checking for invoices with budget errors, accounting entries not posted, any combo date issues or any budget error issues, kind of a thing. For labor, it's doing a similar kind of a thing. And for PO, it's checking for by transaction type, it's checking to see if there are any transactions which are stuck due to approvals, budget errors, receipt accruals, and any other issues which causing it to be sent to GL. Those are the things which the system is doing as a check process right now.
Yeah. Now let's go ahead and click on refresh. As you can see, this process is run by which ID with the process instance. Let's go back to process monitor and click on refresh. As you can see, it is still processing. So let's say if any other users from the department has this role and they are logging at the same time and trying to run this process. So once I initiate this process, no other member will be able to initiate this process for that period. And unless and until SEO closes that period, you will not be able to move on to the next period. Let's go ahead and click on refresh one more time. It's taking a little bit of time.
If you see it here, if you refresh it, you're only seeing the ID which has already submitted it, so that if there is another person in the department, if they are logged in trying to submit the same request, they will see this message, so that they will not be able to resubmit again until this request is complete.
Let's go back to process monitor and click on refresh. So since this is running, do you have any question so far?
They have been put on the spot.
Yes.
They have come in the middle, so they're not.
Right. Yes, we do have a job aid, and I can show that to you. Yes.
And we also published videos on the site,
on the website,
which will explain how this process works. And a lot of departments who already started using it. We just want to encourage everyone to start using it so they take the advantage of functionality.
Let's go back and let's click on refresh. It is still running. Yes.
See, it's because we are having some transactions in live demo.
Right.
We wanted to pick a department which is having a low number of transactions, but still it's going to the full month to verify across all modules. If there's only one module, most of the time the departments will have AP ready, they are still working on it. So that way you don't have to wait for a long period of time. Right? But here we are waiting for a long period because all the subledgers have been initiated at the same time.
Yeah. So now system is actually running all the 27 queries, which department usually runs to make sure there are no pending transactions. So that's why it is taking a lot of time. Okay, as you can see, now it is success. Go back here and click on refresh. See here. So now, as you can see, all the green, they also have an email saying that completed email sent to SCO on with the date and timestamp. If you click on the view button, you will see the entire email which are sent with the all modules which are already ready to close. The email has been triggered to SCO. And also the department users who has this role will get this email in the CC. So they also know that somebody has run this process and we are ready to close this period. Similarly, for the errors, as you can click on view, you will see this email only goes to the department users who has this MEC admin role. And you can see there are AP accounting entries not sent to GL and outstanding vouchers. If I click on view, you can open the spreadsheet. And you will see all the pending transactions. So now the MEC admin can go ahead and start working on these, or you can send this to your AP section and they will be working on it. Once they are ready and they are closed all the pending transactions, they can come back to this MEC automation page and click on this process to rerun. So once I select this and click on run, the system will ask me a question that this process has been previously run. Are you sure you want to run it again? So if you click OK, system will run this process. If you click cancel, it will not run the process. Okay. That's about it.
So it doesn't matter. It will again
Yes.
reproduce the same information.
Correct.
It will just update. See, the reason why we are putting this alert is to avoid such instances where by mistake if someone pressed the run button and they haven't cleaned up the transactions. You can still run it. It's just it will again flash the same transactions back to you. But when you clean it off, let's say you start, if you have 5 transactions which you thought you cleaned it off. Now in the interim, there may be another 2 transactions which might have popped up. So when you run it, those 2 make so show up right now. Even those other 5 are clean, you may have 2 more transactions. Now you can go back and clean those 2, and when you come back and when you run it, everything is clean. It sends an email to SEO. So it's just a checkpoint to make sure that you don't resubmit again and again by mistake. Or sometimes I might have run it. There's other person who comes in and say, hey, everything is fine. They want to rerun it. You just want to make sure that if they have cleaned up the transactions or not. And it also has a date and timestamp so that you know at what time it was run. And even those transactions which are listed in the report is coming by vouchers separately, payments separately, and the GL items which are not sent separately within that given subledger module. So that way, even in AP, there could be multiple teams. Vouchers will be done by one team, payments could be done by other teams. So the NECAC administrator is working with the relevant teams to make things faster to close the periods.
Sure.
When should you email Fiscal if you have an error on closing your submodules?
Oh, okay. So the thing is, like, this email will be triggered to the department users only who has this MEC admin role. They can try and see if they will be able to resolve these outstanding transactions. Sometimes only budget check is pending on the voucher or on receipt accruals or cancel PO, and then you can go ahead and do the budget check and pass this transaction. If you're not able to resolve any of these issues, along with this spreadsheet, you can go ahead and submit a ticket with FSC, and then the MEC analyst will go ahead and respond to you.
See, in the past, in the beginning, when the new department is rolled out, there are a lot of times a learning curve is there. So at that time, there may be a lot of hand-holding from FSC to help the departments with the cleaning of the transactions. But most of the departments who are R16, R17, they know pretty much what these pending transactions are. They can self-serve themselves. So there is no need for, so we have introduced in such a way that only when you need support from FSC, contact us. Otherwise, you can take care of yourself. That's the goal of the self-service process.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. One more question.
One more?
If a submodule is closed but is found that a transaction needs to be posted to the closed period, can departments reopen submodules in a similar manner as the automation tool, or is an FSC ticket needed to reopen?
This will still go with the FSC ticket because it's a controlled activity, and it has to be involved with the control agency. SEO has to be involved in trying to reopen the period. It has to be well controlled in such a way that you're not posting any of the transactions. Let's say there's one transaction which is missed, so you still have to contact FSC, they have to check it, and then they have to contact the CO. That process still exists, and there's once that is done, we can post those transactions, and you don't need to rerun the period because there's a control activity. The same person, whoever is SEO, open the period, they will close it immediately because you don't want other transactions coming hitting the past period. Any other questions? Thank you.
So I'm going to do a little bit different. Hi, I'm Tom Perez, and we're going to do reports to go. So how many people have recognized, and this is Rose Wynn, she's my assistant, professional navigator, went to school, got approved. So here we go. How many people have noticed our new homepage? Okay. Well, I happen to like it, and I'll tell you why. Where? Not yet. My picture's not up there yet. Yeah. Well, anyway, so the new homepage gets you there, and really one of the new items on the new homepage is the reports and query. So today we are going to talk about the reports and queries. So as you can see, when you first log in to the home page, you have many of the menu items showing up. And so one of the new buttons, as I like to call it, is reports and queries. So reports and queries, we're sharing the screen, right? Okay, so the reports and query, go ahead, click it. And it'll take you directly to the link of the pages for the most frequently used reports and queries. And so this new page describes the module that the reports or the query is from, the report name, the report aid, that's new. So that's not a job aid, but the report aid is a description of what fields are in that report or query. The description of the report is also listed as the description. One key thing to remember, you will only see the reports or queries on this page that you have access to on your user role. So if you if you were actually clicking from the home page and on the reports and query button and you came to this page and it was blank, that would mean you would only have a viewer role. You have no reporter role. So you need to have a reporter role to see any of these reports. Okay, so that's something you can test to see if you have the role. So if you only see, let's say, one module, AP, for example, you may be only an AP person, so maybe that's why you're only seeing the AP reports. And that might be okay. However, if you're in GL like I am, and some of you are here today, you probably want to have access to all the modules because eventually all roads lead to GL. Right, Rachel? Thank you. And so what I wanted to show you is there's some hyperlinks. So on the report aid, as I said earlier, we're going to use the program disbursement activity report. Go ahead and click through. On this report aid, it's a description of what the items are in the report. Go ahead, click it. And what do I mean by that? Oh, so here's one thing. This is good that shows up. If you are not logged into your ServiceNow, it will, require you to do that. So remember, that's where you can now find the job aids is now under ServiceNow, under your ServiceNow account, and that's where the report aids are also located. So I'm glad that actually happened. So this is the description of the report aid, and as you look at the report aid, just scroll down. It kind of gives you a description of what the report is, and it a little bit slower. So go back up. There's required. So what is required? Those are the 4 fields that are required on this report. And if you remember in any of your validation testing, when there's an asterisk by one of the field items, that means it's required. So we'll show you the report in a few minutes, and of course it'll match up to that. The other chart fields that are on this report that you can select from are what we put under the other non-required fields. And so it kind of describes what those fields might be used for. If you remember pre-encumbrance, that's kind of for a requisition. It's a field, but it doesn't reduce your obligations. It's not a true obligation until it becomes a purchase order. Okay, so where's the data pulled from? Kind of gives you a brief description. It's coming from the KK module, commitment control. And these are some of the roles that access that report. So as you can see, pretty much every module can use this report. And then the output field. So it kind of describes what the output is coming from on the report. And so you can just see those. It gives you a brief description. And then we also put a copy of what the report looks like. So if you never use this report, this is a really good place to start, at least to give you an idea of what this report is meant for. Obviously, if there's a job aid related to this report, that will give you the step-by-step on how to run the report. So this is just most to tell you about what the report information is going to be pulling. So going back to the reports and queries page, we're going to click on the hyperlink on the report. And this should take you directly to the report. And then, like I said, you can actually, if you've already used this report, you can search to see if you've already done it, or you can run a new one, add a new value, just create a run control ID, add it. And as you can see, as I explained earlier, the asterisks reflect the required fields, and then the optional fields are down below the budget selection criteria. One other thing I wanted to show you, going back to the reports and query page. So let's go ahead and scroll down. So as you can see, this person Rose has access to like 14 of the most frequently used reports and queries. But one key feature that I wanted to show you, let's select the module, is the report search. This is something new. And I thought this is pretty important. So let's pick accounts payables. And then we can just put in a keyword, voucher, because a lot of times I don't know what report to run. I heard some feedback from one of our users that it's not always easy to understand which report might I want to run to see my open purchase orders or maybe my vouchers. So we're going to just put in voucher and hit the search button. And voila. Look at all these reports that are down there. Some of them are part of the if they're part of the frequently used, I think they're highlighted. If not, they're just another listing of reports. So this will give you something to look at, and I think it's pretty helpful as to, I've never known, because there's a bunch of queries out there, there's a bunch of reports, and which ones do I use, right? So at least you have an idea. This may help you. Okay, so that's something new. So I hope you like it. Any questions? No questions. Okay, no. Okay, hold on. I got questions.
Is there a report that shows nominal account activity?
Well, let's try to hit nominal. I know when we talk about nominal accounts, we're talking trial balance normally. So I'd say trial balance, but I don't know if it specifically says that. Scroll down, Rose. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, go ahead. You're fine. Hit the search. I don't know if that's going to give us anything. Probably not. Yeah, I'm just saying that it doesn't. I don't think that's a word that is one of the search criteria, but definitely I would check with your staff analyst, or if you could, you can also just send in a question through the FSC. We'd also answer it that way too.
Can reports and queries be personalized to show our favorites, not just the standard fiscal list?
So this page is a delivered page, and it's based on the most frequently run reports and queries. So no, you can't customize that I'm aware of any reports or queries to your page as a favorite.
For automated process, is the MEC dashboard updated, or do we need to manually update the dashboard?
One more time.
For automated process, is the MEC dashboard updated, or do we need to manually update the dashboard?
Dashboard is still manual.
I did want to mention that, there is some other useful information when I talk about the report aid, job aids. Don't forget about the Department of Finance website under Fiscal Resources. They have a lot of good information there. I go there all the time. They have the crosswalks, the UCM crosswalk. They have, the program crosswalk. They have information on how to do some of the processes. I think the program disbursement activity report is there for job aid. So don't forget to go to that website also. There's a lot of good information. Any other questions in the crowd? No? Okay. Oh, one more, James?
Oh, I got 3.
Oh, 3 more?
Is there a report similar to the ledger activity report that gives more detail on transactions?
I've heard this. No, but we're working on something. Eventually we're trying to get everybody to that point where there's going to be the cloud, the Power BI that's in the future that we're looking forward to. That way departments can add chart fields. I know that I've seen a request come through for the ledger activity report to be added to more fields. Yeah, that's probably going to be something in the future that we're looking towards, and sooner rather than later. So stay tuned. I know, hang in there. Otherwise, we would probably have to tell you to submit a request to maybe try to get something. Yeah, I'm not sure that we could, because here's the problem that we're worried about reports like the ledger activity report and some of you that use the DFQ KK. The processing time of all that data, the more chart fields you add, the more time it takes to process. So we have to be very careful when we're building stuff like new reports that are going to take up a lot of time and process data time. So like I said, the Power BI is our next big solution for that, so everybody can run it, and then it's not tying up our current system when we're doing production work. Because really the most important thing is to get our payments out, right? We don't pay our bills. Well, I know there's other stuff too, but the voucher payment, you got to pay your bills. Otherwise, we don't stay open. Go ahead.
Is there a way to determine what reports and queries an individual has access to?
Like I said, if you go to when you click on the button from the home page, let's go back to the home page, and when you do click your reports and queries, you'll only see the ones that your user role has access to. So if you think you should have more access, then you need to speak with your dad and then try to get that, see if they approve getting you more roles. Like maybe I should have GL role, but they'll probably say no unless you're in the GL unit. But depends. You can ask. All they can say is no.
Is there a list of all accounts involved in each ledger?
That's a good question. I would say that we'd have to take that one offline. I'd have to think about that, but there should be somewhere where we have a listing of what. So I think what they're trying to say is what chart fields are involved with each ledger group. That's probably going to be a little bit of a research on that.
Where does the system look up keyword in the query field?
I don't know. That's a good question. Again, we'll have to take that away. I didn't build this page, but I just know that I like using it.
One more.
One more? Okay. Is my mom on the line? Who's sending all these questions? My mom?
Is there a report that replaced G01 year to date for GL 3020?
So 3020 doesn't exist anymore. You guys all know that, right? That's the claims filed or claims in process. Oh, they're trying to trick me. This is good. You're pulling my history now. G01, we should have a similar report to G01. Look on the DOF. The DOF website has the crosswalk of most commonly used reports like the G01. I can definitely tell you we don't have any of the H reports. Okay, so I know we've heard your complaints, or I mean you're wanting it, not complaining. I'm sorry, wrong word. But yes, we will. Like I said, we are looking at better ways to get you better reports, more information, and so stay tuned. I hope that's it. Questions? Okay, good. Got to move on. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Raymond Descare. I'm the manager over the on-site support office. The on-site support office is part of the business division. We were created specifically to help departments with their month-end, year-end close. Those tickets that route for your transactions that are stuck preventing your close are routed to my team. The MECEC, or the actual MEC close request that was created by FSC to generate those emails to SEO is part of what we were doing before. So it's very helpful to us. I can't see this thing. So like many of you, or some of you, I have OTP. So I have to wait for an email. Second validation, one-time password. So what I'm going to be presenting today is the Department 360. The Department 360 is something we've been developing for the last year and a half. It's come in a few different stages. So if you go into the tile, I don't know what Tom called it. Click. We call it tiles. I call it tiles. Button. There it is. So the Department 360 is tile. So when we built it, we started with different tiles. The first tiles that we created were the Encumbers Tile, the Expenditure Tile, and the Receivables Tile. These tiles were created just to give a general overview of your department statuses for those functions. So if you look in encumbrances in general, you're not going to be able to have any drill down capability into these tiles once you get inside. So it's only going to show you by acquisition type, by amount, by count, and then status and count. So it's amount and count for encumbrances. So it's a one-time for you to look in to see your overall status for encumbrances for your department. The reason why we pick these is because these are normally what you want to look at operationally if you're seeing what kind of purchase orders you're creating, what type of acquisition method you're using, how much in periods, how many in periods, where your dollars are. That's why we built it for period based, so you can look at an entire year or you can look at a month specific. The only things that are going to show up are things that you've created. So if you have nothing under a certain acquisition type or method, you will not see anything show up under that acquisition type or method. So the same concept came with encumbrances. When we show you encumbrances or expenditures, we show you expenditures. It's only what you have based on the period you went through, and it's pulling directly from your AP module. So we're going to show you amount by origin. So the amount is origin based to where your vouchers are generating from. So operationally, at an overview, if you take your entire year, you can see what period based, whether your vouchers are coming mostly from online, from manual creation, from interfaces, from calculators, direct transfers. Where are those vouchers being generated from? And then the count by origin. So how many are being generated from them? Is your operation itself being driven by interface? Are you having more people create? And are you creating more at a certain time of year? That's kind of what we were looking at when we created this, so you can see operationally at a glance, period-based, what your offices are doing, what your department is doing. So we also have by statuses, count, and amount. So status was mostly so we can see whether you have, where you're approved, when you have errors, when you're recycled status. The statuses that generate from the AP module itself, those statuses are what you can search by. If you go into your voucher pages, you can look at those statuses themselves. So a lot of what we do and what we've created is things that you can go multiple ways to get to the same information. We're just trying to give you a tile-based way that you can go in directly without going into your submodule to pull up the information. So a lot of the information can be pulled in reports. They can be pulled in inquiry searches in the submodules themselves. They can be pulled in other things we've created. This is just an overview with no drill down capability that you can do a one-time look at where you are. So what we created for receivables is by period, same as the others, except we're going to go receipts by type, receipts by fund, and receivables by type, and receivables by fund. So receipts, of course, is what you've already received, posted in your AR module. And then receivables is what you're expecting to receive. So if you create receivables, that's what's going to show up here. So we show by type and by fund. And like I said, depending on your source, depending on your business process, some departments are heavily revenue-based. Some departments have different transactional information. So you're going to see revenues, abatements, you know, the top things that you would normally see in these type of receipts and in these receivables based on how you're transacting and what your programs are running. So every department is going to have a different view and output on these pages based on their transactional source. So those were the first three we created. The next one we created, well, let me do this one last because it's a lot of information. After the dashboard was created, we created the GL Sync data page. So the GL Sync is your sync between your general ledger and your commitment control. So when we do our BLL, budgetary legal ledger basis, at the end of the year to build that for your year-end reports, those ledgers have to be in sync, your general ledger and your commitment control. So this is just showing you at an overview revenue and expenditures if your ledgers are out of sync. If your ledgers are out of sync, you know that you're going to have to correct that to bring them into sync. That's work that you have to do. There's GLKK Job Aid. Job Aid is number 425. If you haven't seen it before, you can find it on the service now. Look under General Ledger. That Job Aid is 425. We created that Job Aid and did some specific examples of the type of errors you see in your General Ledger Commitment Control Sync, how to correct those errors. Some of them you can correct yourself. Some of them will require a ticket to be put in so that we can do some budget bypass to get the ledgers in sync. This is just like an overview page to show you that you're out of sync. If you don't know that you're out of sync, you don't know that you have to look into it. So right now we have a details. It's going to show you some detail related to the journals, some transactional, some fund detail related to where you're out of sync to narrow down the searches that you have to put in. But we're still working on the page to show some more commitment control information so that when we go drill down to the detail level, we can see actual journals related to those sync issues that you can correct just from here, seeing that detail. Right now, because we don't have that commitment control link in here, we're just using it to show by fund how you're out of sync. Then you would go into our GLKK Sync Job Aid, and we developed 6 different queries that will show you by fund, then by account, and it drills down into the transactional detail of your GLKK Sync. DOF has the same, or finance, I think they like to be called finance. FISCU, finance, has the same query under one of the DFQ queries, but it's a a wide query that takes quite a while to run because it's everything. So we broke that down, that one, into 6 so that you can drill and run hopefully quicker so you don't have that processing time and you don't take as much performance away from everyone else. So this is created. We are always looking to upgrade features, add new information, but as an overview, that's a good method. I say you should look quarterly to look at your GLKK because some of your GLKK sync issues may resolve themselves because of time-based posts. So quarterly, definitely before the year end. So if you do your last one, you look at maybe your period 11, clear your GLKK, and then when you submit your ticket for your period 12, we're going to say be transactionally done before we say we're going to clear all your GLKK in period 12. We're looking at 998. So that was created. After that, the most recent one created is the error dashboard. This error dashboard was created based on Imagine Fiscal we talked about earlier. So comments from Imagine Fiscal came through, and one of the things they wanted to see was a place that you can see your errors. Now there are other places to see your errors. There are other transactions. There's other navigation to see your errors, but this page was built for one tile for you to see your errors so they come up for you. So the first one that was built was accounts payable, because transactionally your two biggest ones are accounts payable and accounts receivable. So we're working on accounts receivable now. That should be out in the next couple of releases, maybe 4 to 8 weeks for something for accounts receivable, but accounts payable was first. So on the left, I just clicked in accounts payable. You will see one for accounts receivable. Then you will see one for general ledger, maybe one for labor distribution. Mostly your transactional modules. That's what's going to be built. That's what's going to be delivered. When we look here, what was built not only to show you the errors, because it does show you the errors. I have multiple business unit access, so Fiscal doesn't show a lot of errors. I'm just going to put in a VU generally to show a few different errors. Because when we built this page, we wanted to look at, to show you the type of error that you're seeing, the ID associated with the error, the date associated, because all of these, like every other page, are sortable fields. So if you sort by this field, that's what's going to come up. So if you wanted to go by accounting date and work from the oldest to the newest, you would sort by that date. We also wanted to show you who it was created by, because if you're having one person look at this information and distributing to those users and not the users themselves looking at this information, then you know created by who that should go to. If it's Fiscal batch, that's the creation, that's just the last process that touched that. So a lot of your things may be Fiscal batch, but if it's something that's in recycle and hasn't been touched by batch, or it's still outstanding and hasn't been touched by batch, you're going to see the user ID associated. We also wanted to show you the source in case you want to sort by where they're coming from, or you see a large error creation from CalAiders, you know maybe one of your interface failed on that day. You want to take a look at that and pay attention to it. Same with origin. Are these online? Are these uploads? Are these manual catch-up? What are you doing? And then the last one we put by amount, because you want to fix the largest error first to get your payments out based on how much you're paying. So they gave a general statement description on what that error means. And then if you go into the budget exception or any of the other ones, it will take you to the 365 or the ServiceNow where all the job aids are, and gives you detailed information on what a budget exception is. So there's job aids out there for budget exceptions. There's information out there on what a budget exception is. This is a little more detailed information, what it is, why it is, how you navigate to find it, examples of what it is, examples of how to fix it in the general. So a little more information related to the error types that you're going to see in AP with a link to ServiceNow that's going to give you detail on how to correct that error. So there's multiple reasons for budget exceptions. Some of them could be date related. Some of them could be chart field related. Some of them could be budget actual tolerance related. So those type of scenarios are covered in this document here, even though it still cannot be transactionally to your specific information because everybody's specific information is different. The overview is enough to give you a general idea of where to start and how to resolve. So they created that for each of the types of errors you would see when you ran that page. I should start closing tiles or I get lost. Let's go back. So I just wanted to say the budget exception is one. There's match exception, which is another one you see in vouchers. There's pre-edit errors, recycled errors, and these are just what are coming up for you to review. These are the common errors that we see. These are the error types. When your voucher's in error, this is the type of error that you're going to see. So the same things will be created for AR. We're working on it now. That will be the next one rolling out. I think after AR, we're going to look at GL. And then after GL, I would say labor distribution. And those are your four main. Well, we'll put Kiernan in there too, probably. So that was the latest one out. If you have ServiceNow access, you can also go to your ServiceNow from this dashboard. That link will take you there. If you're at your computer, sometimes you don't have to log in. If it's ServiceNow, it takes you directly there. I think it took me from the dashboard directly to ServiceNow because somebody from here was already in ServiceNow previously. So you don't always have to log in every time at your station when it routes you to ServiceNow. So the last one that I was going to go over was the month-end close dashboard. So the month-end close dashboard was created after the initial creation of the self-service tool. And that's the dashboard that was talked about earlier. Do you still have to update it manually? So yes, this is the MEC status. There's a link on the dashboard to your MEC status. If you go into your MEC status, which the job aid for the self-reporting is 335, there's a whole job aid on how to do it, how to fill it out, what you need. We created this based on the job aid for how to close the month. So everything in here is related to how you close your month and how you're reporting on closing your month. So your close request, your actual submodule close, general ledger close, we pull that information from the system. So when you log into this tool and you see Fiscal Batch as the process ID on the update, that's because it's looking at that close to update that information. So when we say, yes, you still have to update it manually, you're not updating it manually on whether you closed your submodules or whether you closed your AMGL. It's the steps in between and leading up to the close of your submodules. And after you close your AMGL, when you report yourself as reconciled and those other steps, those things you have to update manually because we don't know where you are in that process. We can only tell where you are in your close of submodules and your close of AMGL because that's a transactional system process that we can pull from the table that shows your open period and shows your ledgers that are closed. So the first one is an overview. You can do a summary status. Some departments that are closed and regular on time only have to do summary status. Other departments that are still catching up and going through their process still have to do the detail. The detail is related to the fiscal job aid for close, so all the steps associated with the detail are for the close process. You can update these as you complete them. You can put in ticket information if you want. That's up to you. How much you want to put in there is up to you. The summary is more of how we're reporting where you are. So if you're reconciled and you don't say you're reconciled, we're not reporting you as reconciled. So it's important for you to update that information. We put in this tool references. So the references are the Fiscal 9, Job Aid for closing, and all the queries that you run to identify that your submodules and your AMGL are ready for closure. Wrap it up, you say? Wrap it up. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up. One more thing before I wrap it up. These operational insight dashboards, Job Aid 367, show you your transactional information for your submodules. It's a little more detail into what you're doing. I like to look at voucher status. A lot of them have status information, but they also have the not sent to AMGL or not sent to GL information that you run for your queries for outstanding. This is going to show you all your information transaction where you are by module, by your transactional modules. So there's one for AP, one for AR, one for GL. We created one for procurement. But they said wrap it up, so I'm not going to go over all of them. Any questions? I know it's a lot of information, but all of these that I show you have job aids related to them with a lot of detail associated.
What is the criteria for which POs are included?
The criteria, it's pulled from commitment control. So if it's been budget checked and it's in commitment control, it's there. If it's in your PO module, it's there in that overview information.
I got one. Should this, will there be a PO encumbrance error resolution added to the dashboard as well?
There's going to be yes. So in the error tile, PO, all transactional modules will be added to that tile. But the next one is going to be AR. Probably PO can be done after GL.
I have an error in my PO submodules in the MEC automation process, but my error dashboard is clear. Should this error resolution dashboard mirror with the month-end close and MEC automation process?
Yeah, so if you look at, there's a OID, the Operation Insight Dashboard with procurement, you can look for that error in there, or you can look for the error in your queries. The output from the self or the automated closing should have gave a spreadsheet that showed the error. If you can't identify it, submit a ticket and say you can't identify it, and we'll look at it for you. I just want to show on the OID for procurement. Never mind, I'm going to wrap it up. So wrap it up.
Are the dashboards available by your user role as well, or does everybody see?
Everything is role-based. Security has us do least use, least access. So the tile itself for the 360 is PeopleSoft user. So every PeopleSoft user is going to see the tile itself. When you drill down into the tiles within the 360, it's going to be role-based. So we're trying to give a little more leeway into adding some viewer access into those outputs, but it's role-based when you go into transaction. So if I go into PO and I try to pull up a PO ID, even if I have viewer access to get there, I can't pull it up because I don't have PO access. So it's all role-based. The only thing on the PO dashboard I want to show you before I wrap it up is that view-related information was created specifically for this to show you any receipt ID created to the PO, to any voucher ID tied to the PO, any related information for that PO, so any procurement people. This is information you might want to see that's not anywhere else, that you can't navigate to anywhere else. So check it out. Any other questions? Wrap it up. Wrap it up. 50 windows open. Also, those job aids are out there, but if you want a USL support lab, put in a request and we can take you through the GLKK or anything like that you want to go through.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Brett Millett. I am the project manager for FizzBot. And I just want to acknowledge the contributions of Denise and Shiles and Melanie Costa, who have been instrumental in what we've been able to accomplish of late. Big reason to be here today to demonstrate the most recent release of FizzBot is just to try to show the response that we're trying to make to feedback, and to do all that we can to help you find the right information as you're trying to work with Fiscal. In response to Tom and his statement that all roads lead to GL, we're trying to establish a world where all roads start at FizzBot. And we're not there yet, but we believe we have the structure in place to be able to do that. So just a couple of the new features that I'll highlight today, guided navigation. I'll share with you in a second what that means, and hyperlinks to job aids, to training and related topics. So first, guided navigation, and I've listed this as a best practice. So how do I get rid of that icon, the speaking? Does that go away? Okay, that's not part of my demonstration. I don't know where that's coming from. So we found that we had to kind of go back and, in a sense, put some training wheels on FizzBot and the content and the data that was inside of it. So we are, in our implementation, we are doing so, adding content by module. We chose PO because it has been traditionally, by far, the highest volume ticket topic for FSC. So that was our first area that we tackled, and the responses that we have collected are around those questions that we receive most often, and so that's where we have begun. But what in this last iteration, what we have been working on is putting some structure to what is inside of of how all that content is organized. So within the PO module, it's hierarchical, the way that we've organized the data. And I'm not showing all of how it's all broken down, but this just illustrates how within the PO module today, if you're working with FizzBot and you click on purchase order and you click on approve, at that point, it's a guided navigation to the response that has to do with how to approve a PO. And there would be steps. There's a link to, in this case, a training, and below that, additional options to that are related to approving a PO. Likewise, if I was navigating down that same path and to create and how to create a PO from an existing PO, it's going to guide me to a suitable response, and where necessary, also have related topics and other cross-referencing that is available. We will soon be releasing the AP module. It's in test now, and likewise, it will have its own hierarchy for guided navigation. So when it comes to best practices and using FizzBot, that is available. This the idea that you can be led to your answer by subsequent selections of the hierarchy. And let me just jump over now to we'll demonstrate that a little bit. One thing I'll point out, so we pulled this up before the meeting started. Anytime FizzBot sits for more than 5 minutes, it needs to be refreshed before it's active again. So if you are wondering why nothing works, there's a need, if it sits idle, for you to refresh. So this is our test environment. So you see we've actually already got the AP module being displayed. I won't go in there because I haven't touched it yet, but in this case, at this instance, if I'm interested in something to do with the PO module, then I clicked on PO, and I'm given these options to click into purchase orders, requisitions, contracts, and the like. If I'm interested in purchase orders, well, what do I want to do with a purchase order? Do I want to create a purchase order, edit a purchase order, approve, disapprove, cancel, delete, whatever type of topic, I can click into one of those. You'll see if I go back to requisitions, similar type of things. Do I want to create a requisition, edit, delete? So there's this hierarchical structure that is in place for the content that we have inside of FizzBot. So, to click in further, if I want to create a PO, well, do I want to create a PO from a requisition, via direct entry? It's all, there's options, just as we do in communication. We have to add additional detail, and as we construct sentences, this is helping to construct the thought for FizzBot, the artificial intelligence, to find what it is that you're looking for. Now, if I wanted to now all this is guided navigation. Here I come to the final response: how to create a PO from a requisition, and there's our response. Now, if I go back just for a second to my presentation here, so we also support, and another best practice is the natural language inquiry, which is where you're typing in the question that you're looking for. That is still very much supported. There's guidelines here on how to structure those sentences starting with, in general, with how, a verb, an object, and if needed, a qualifier and examples. Finally, for best practices, and I want to emphasize this strongly to all that are present here and online, that regular, frequent, daily use of FizzBot, if this is indeed to become the starting point for all the roads that lead to GL, know that every question that's entered, it's logged, and there's intelligence that will help guide us as we expand the content that is within FizzBot, and it'll be driven by the questions that you're asking. We are setting up a processes where we're regularly reviewing what people are asking, and that will influence what's in FizzBot, what job aids we're creating, and training that we are providing. So, are there any questions that I can answer today? So if, let me see if I can just find one of the FizzBot pages or Fiscal pages, if they're still up.
So the question was, how do you navigate to that? And that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah,
for those
so,
of you who didn't hear.
so within Fiscal, the little robot icon, if you click on that, then that opens up FizzBot. This is the production version. It's running here. Other questions? My time's up. I'm getting the axe signal. So thank you. If you have questions for those that are present, there's a few of us that are gonna be at these back tables. If any of you want to sit down and play with FizzBot for a minute, or just give us some feedback before you leave today, we'd love it to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. And sorry we had to cut you off, but we'll certainly talk more about FizzBot in the upcoming forums. And again, there's opportunity to see it live. At this time, we would like to have the partner business executives up to our panel for a question and answer session. I noticed people didn't really want to come up to the podium to ask questions, so we've recruited a couple of folks to go stand in the audience and ask questions. So if you want to be first in line, go ahead and raise your hand, and someone will come over to you with a microphone. And I'll just really quickly ask all the PBEs to introduce themselves. Well, yeah, sit down first.
I'm Kathy Liao with the State Controller's Office.
Sheila Tobias Daniels, State Treasurer's Office.
Richard Handy with the Department of General Services.
And Jeff Carasone, Department of Finance.
Okay, so who has questions?
Who's working on the search engine back into this on the main? Who's working on the front page of Fiscal as a search engine, or any of the search engine capabilities inside of Fiscal? Anybody working on them or structuring them?
I can tell you about CalProcure. I know we're working on improving some of the functions there. That's probably more technical side question as far as how
Okay, hold it close.
So that's a good question. I know that's the actual name of the report they build on the back end. I don't know if there's an enhancement that can do a description for each of the reports to give you a more user-friendly name. I think that's just something we're going to have to take back and talk with our technical folks to see if that can be done.
I guess I'm still thinking CalSTARS, where we had a letter and a number and something that guided us to what we were looking at. And I do like the report function that you guys have added that has given us a lot of that. But there's still so many other reports out there that we still have questions on as to what it's pulling from and why that report is giving us a different set of numbers than another report that we feel should be giving us the same set of numbers so we can tie to.
I think that's a good point. I think a good standard naming convention for each of the report is a good idea, and I think that's just something we can take back.
Yeah, we'll take that feedback to the reports to go group.
Hi, this is a question for SEO. So our department currently submit multiple batch of direct transfer a month. And we heard that once we go on fiscal, we can only submit one batch a month. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try again. Can we submit a few batches of direct transfer to SEO a month?
Which department are you with?
Department of Technology.
So that's currently outside the system right now.
Right.
You'll have to coordinate with SEO. They normally only accept one batch per department.
Right.
Sometimes multiple times a month, but you'll have to check with SEO Home on that. I believe your contact is Bertha Mejia or Colleen Moreau.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Any questions online, James? A little surprised this was something that was asked for, so just I'll put one last call in. We have our control agencies here, so nope. Okay, great. For the people online to be able to hear your question.
So I currently do the revenue for one of our units in our department, and I'm just curious what refunds are going to look like for our customers and or our vendors, and what SEO might be needing from us to provide documentation that we submit through our accounts receivable department to submit, so forth and so forth, up to SEO.
What's the department?
CAL FIRE.
So what type of refunds are you saying you're making payments back to the vendors?
Right. So if people, so currently I'm with the fire marshal. So we have people that pay for licensing.
Mm-hmm.
Their licensing comes in, it gets deposited. We find out once their application goes through and everything that they actually don't qualify for their licensing that they're doing because they maybe don't fulfill some of the qualifications that are required to get that licensing. So we're required to submit them a refund. They want their money essentially. So I'm just curious, we're kind of stuck now at the moment, what that's going to look like in fiscal and what that's going to look like moving forward and what SEO may require from us to provide to you to process some of these payments that haven't been processed.
So what were you submitting prior to you going on fiscal? Were you submitting an electronic claim? Was it a regular paper claim schedule with a list of 99 payees?
I just started in the accounts receivable as of May, so I couldn't tell you. I know the old system, what they were using was Rock.
Yeah.
So, and they were submitting all that backup documentation, then it was going through a couple places through CAL FIRE, and then it was getting to SEO. As what I'm being told now is that SEO has requested information, so I'm just trying to determine what we need to be providing to accounting to move that process along, to be proactive versus reactive.
They always need supporting documentation. So whatever information you have that supports you giving them the refund, you can always contact the claim audits, and they will also provide you what kind of backup was provided previously. You would provide the same type of backup but attached to the actual voucher in fiscal. The supporting information doesn't change. It's just the medium that you use to provide that information to audits.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we have a question online.
In a scenario where the duplicate payment is paid by a supplier and the supplier sends a refund check back to the agency, what is the correct way of increasing the encumbrance balance to reflect the available funds?
So if a duplicate warrant was issued, one thing that we are turning on, hopefully next week, is the redeposit functionality. Where you would ask SEO to actually redeposit that warrant, and it would go back and it would open up the encumbrance again. Prior to this, you weren't able to do that, but it will be functionality that turns on next week.
Okay, any last questions? Oh, we've got one over here. Shonda, in the front row.
Next week, we're hoping for Monday. We're actually in a pilot right now for redeposits, fiscal warrant redeposits currently. If all goes well this week, then we'll go full function next week, starting with Monday. Yes. If this week works, then yes. If not, then we're not going to send anything.
One more question online.
It's not working. Is there any way to process refunds in Fiscal for remitted cash through a voucher? The job aid regarding refunds is not clear.
If you're issuing a vendor or someone that overpaid you money, it's just a normal voucher process. The distribution lines should match exactly the same distribution lines when you receive that payment from an AR perspective. And then you just use the same distribution line, provide your supporting documentation, like always, and then it goes through the normal voucher process to issue a warrant back to the department. Back to the vendor, excuse me.
A question there in the back.
Okay, so SCL currently requires 5 days to process direct transfer. We were told that when we run fiscal, it would be 8 days required. We don't have 8 days. If we are required to do 8 days, we won't be able to have money posted in the same month. So will that 8 day is something we can work with SCL to make it a 6 day, 5 days for us, or that is a fix?
When you go through the onboarding process for the direct transfer process, SCO will also be in the room and you can ask those questions as to their processing time. Currently, DGS is at an 8-day processing time, and that's to be able to get the file, SCO to review the file, process the file, and get the information back. There's always opportunities to ask them while you're going through the onboarding process for the fiscal direct transfer process.
Shonda, we have a question in the front.
The vouchers. Do we need to create an invoice for the refunds?
That's a Jeremy question. Jeremy. Number, I believe. So the whatever reference number you're using on your attachment, use that to populate the invoice ID.
Do we just handwrite the number on the supporting documents?
Jeremy, how have you seen it done? He has seen that it can just be handwritten, but clearly, and probably top corner somewhere, so they can easily identify it, so they can associate it to that voucher.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Okay, we have one more online.
Why is the unpost function turned off?
So the question was, why is the unpost function turned off?
Which unpost function?
We'll follow up if they return that.
Yeah, every module has unposting capability, so.
Yeah, so you who asked the question online, please send that to the CMO mailbox and we'll follow up on your question.
GL, AP's always been off. AR is in the process of being turned off.
Okay, we have a question in the back.
To kind of piggyback on the direct transfer question, from what I understand, state controllers will only post one line for those. Is there a process in which we can request 4 lines? Because even though we're general fund, I have 4 different appropriations. They're divvied up by percentages.
So I'll let Richard answer this question. I do believe that fiscal does have a limitation where it's only 1 line.
Right, DGS does direct transfer. I would really have to follow back up with you on that. I believe Kathy is correct that it's only one line, but I need to confirm that.
One more online.
We will be accruing our A8 entries for 2018 now in the 998. Since these expenses have already been paid since 7/1/19, what is the correct way of accruing the A8 entry?
Department of Finance, you want to answer that question?
Well, we have on Finance's website training material to do your year-end accrual entries, but for that, the A entry would just be just an entry in the GL. Did that answer the question?
It was online. They may follow up. So. Okay. Any more questions in the room? Okay, we got some online. Go ahead.
When you need to fund split a warrant, part of it goes to employee and FTB. What is the process to fund split the warrant? Can it be done in Fiscal?
Fund split either means, to me, it means when there's multiple funding sources. It sounds like they're having one payment. They want one invoice to go to two payees. Can we get some more information on which type they're asking for? Yes.
Okay, last question. I'm sorry, for you who submitted the last question, maybe you send that to the CMO mailbox or submit a follow-up. Go ahead, James.
Okay. Is this the last session of Q&A with the PBEs?
Some of them say yes. I think we'll certainly look at that. It sounds like most of the questions that are coming in from this session are for SEO, but we would like to make some have them available in future sessions, either through the Fiscal Forum, and also please submit questions to the CMO mailbox or through your readiness coordinator, or if you have FSC issues, and to the extent that those questions need to be answered by our partner agencies, they'll be filtered up to them. Okay, any more questions? Oh, actually, it looks like we are right at 3 o'clock. So I want to say thank you to the panel. Thank you to all of you who came to visit us in person, and for those of you who signed online, thank you as well. We'll look forward to seeing you again in February. And just a reminder that at the back of the room, we have some staff there that are available to walk you through an additional demo of the FizzBot. Okay, thanks again.